vast majority of people who are critiquing universities and folks for being too biased are people who, anybody who says both perspectives is someone who absolutely has no idea what's going on. And like, I'm only being fair to you because you agree with something that happened in here. But you're not emailing me, thanking me for the things that you disagree with. How often do y'all think about that? Like that this is, like you really need to figure the world out right now.
I don't necessarily think that college is like a necessity to learn, especially how to be a person. Obviously, you get that with just
it's
time
definitely
experience.
not a necessity at
but
all.
It's like,
All right, so listen, I want to say a couple of things. It's the last main class. I want to say a couple of things to you all before we do bring up the volunteers. And I also want to say something to people watching the stream. I noticed that there's a lot of criticism of universities and the bias of universities and this idea that universities are tilted toward a very left-wing bias. This is all the critique of DEI and all this kind of stuff, right? And what I know is that the vast majority of people who are critiquing universities and folks for being too biased are people who have never been in a classroom. And especially in a classroom like this. And especially a classroom that's not just both big and very diverse and in which we're dealing with really some of the most controversial issues of the day. And what it takes to be fair and talk about things from lots of different perspectives. Not just both. People say both perspectives. Anybody who says both perspectives is someone who absolutely has no idea what's going on. Because there are so many more than two perspectives. And I think if you imagine how much work I do, A, to try to bring a lot of different angles into the analysis, and B, not bring my own biases in, which isn't, actually, I don't do a ton of work on that because I'm mostly, as a thinker, I'm really very much all over the place, but no, that's not true. I really work hard to do that, and it's very difficult to do. And so I will often get emails from people when I do like a class that's on issues where more liberal or progressive issues come out. I get emails from people like, yeah, I watched this video and like it's really cool that you're showing this side of these issues. And I really appreciate how you're being very balanced in the classroom, right? And it's clear, and then they tell me what it is they like. And it's very clear that what they like is what they agree with. And then we'll do something like when Joe was up here, the police officer. And I start getting emails from people who are very conservative on the other side. And they feel like, the George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter protests took us all in a wrong direction. And, there's not that much racism among the police and all this kind of stuff, right? And they're like, oh, it's so good that you're being fair in your classroom. And like, I'm only being fair to you because you agree with something that happened in here. But you're not emailing me, thanking me for the things that you disagree with. It's like, I totally disagree with what happened in your class, but I think it's really important that those ideas were put out into the room. Like, I never get those emails. And I get the emails thanking me for saying things that people agree with, that they themselves think. And I tell you this because it's so really just incredibly difficult. Like, can you imagine like coming up here and talking about this wide range of issues and doing it in a way that's really fair to so many different perspectives, man? It's like, gee, like last class when we were talking about something, and then or 2 classes ago, and you brought up that point from like a really conservative perspective. It's just like, boom, man. But that's why you're here, because on another day you bring out a really liberal perspective, and it's like, you got to have that. Jamie is our main moderator, or one of our moderators, and she speaks in my ear a lot. Like things are, she'll remind me of something, or say, hey, go back to that point, or here's a good question for you, or something like that, right? It's really nice to have. Yesterday morning, we were talking about class and what to do, and she said, when are people actually going to, if they don't learn in college, when are they going to learn? Like, you know what I mean? When are they going to come up with complex ideas, okay? I mean, like, this is the time, right? You all have time here. You're not really, so many of you are working, and, you have other things, right? But you're working with mostly other college students, and, like, this is it, man. You're dedicating 4 or 5 years to just singularly trying to figure out what the hell's going on in the world. And then when you get out and you get some kind of job, and then you're busy working your 10-hour days or whatever it is, and then you get home and you're tired, and you just don't have the same way of structuring your thinking. So I was thinking, a lot of times people, they find out I'm a professor, and they will say to me, oh my God, I wish those are the best years of my life. I wish I took advantage more. I wish I spent more time learning more things, because later in life, I really wasn't able to do that. How often do y'all think about that? Like that this is, like you really need to figure the world out right now.
I really believe on that we learn through like living and through experiences. So I focus much more like my current years, like my college experience on living and actually learning from experiences. So I just don't see that whenever I leave college next year, I'll stop learning or just getting myself out there, but more of I will learn even more out of college. Whenever I'm out of college, I have just more time for myself. I think so.
So do you feel, to what degree do you feel like you've gotten like an organizational structure to your intellectual framework, right? Like the college experience has organized your intellectual thoughts to prepare you for understanding the world?
Yeah, I think my college experience has definitely helped me just try to look more into like the diversity and opportunities out there, because I mean, here at Penn State, there's a bunch of things, a bunch of resources, but it's more of like looking forward. So I think one of the things I learned the most here at Penn State was that if you're trying to like get something and make an achievement, you got to look for it. It won't knock on your door. So that's something like I learned a lot here.
All right. And Ice, do you want to go? Like, you're at the beginning of your college career, right? So how are you thinking like, man, I got to figure the world out?
I feel like in a way I am. I mean, kind of like what he was saying, like I see life as like lived experiences. So like I'm one of those people that thinks like you never stop learning, you never stop growing, even if you feel like you're at a point where like it's a dead end or something. Like there's always room for improvement, always room for growth, always room to learn something new. So I feel like being in college, that is something that happens a lot. He was saying like you have to seek the opportunities, they don't seek you, and that's something that I feel like I've really come to terms with in college, especially because like I see college like, I don't know how to explain it, but like I lived in Mexico for a few years, and like the education system over there, I was in a very small town where my dad is from. And so living there, I saw the difference of like how they look at the education system versus how like people here in America view it. And here, like a lot of people kind of see college as like, oh yeah, like it's there, like that's where I have to go to be successful. But like in Mexico, people see college as if I don't go there, my life is nothing. I won't be anything. And so for me, I take like, I kind of take it for granted. Like I look at it as like a blessing that I'm here in a way. So I feel like kind of what he was saying, like it's just every day you learn something new, and there's always.
Yeah. So, okay. So every day you're learning something new, going to all these different classes and stuff.
I don't necessarily think that college is like a necessity to learn, especially how to be a person. Obviously, you get that with just
it's
time
definitely
experience.
not a necessity at
but
all.
it's like I'd say it like expedites the process, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Especially as like a freshman, you're kind of just plunged into a new scenario. You're probably, especially if you're in Penn State, I would assume most people are very far away from home. You have to do all your chores by yourself. You have to, like now I live in an apartment. You know, you got to cook, you got to clean, you have to make sure you keep up your hygiene, you have to keep up your schoolwork, you have to go grocery shopping. Like there's a lot. And you have to learn how to manage your time. And that's something college definitely like really emphasizes.
And all the while you have to remain mentally, psychologically.
Yeah, on top of that, you need to have a
stable.
social life, and you need to not
but
be
you
depressed.
have to be
and
pretty psychologically stable, right? Because it's
Absolutely.
hard to do
Yeah.
it day after day, like living life. Do you feel like in your time here at Penn State, you've really gotten a grasp on the majority of the issues that, or how much have you gotten a grasp on so many of the issues that get talked about every day?
Wait, is this on? Yeah. I don't really think I like have a grasp at all. And I think like I'll get that after I like graduate and like I'm in the real world. I like
Wait, so you're a fourth year
fourth
student?
year. Yeah, graduating this May. Yeah.
Yeah? And you
Yeah.
feel like you don't have a grasp on stuff?
Not really, because I feel like my entire life I've kind of been in like a bubble where like
Yeah.
since I was young, like there's always like a plan, like, oh, I'm gonna do K through 12. After that, I'll apply to college, go to college. But this is like the first time where like it's like uncertain, you know, there's not like a clear path that's like defined for me. I have to like make my own decisions and like figure things out myself. And I think like in that I'll like understand more about the world.
So when you think about when y'all think about like a system, the people who are in charge, you have to have this belief that they know what the hell's going on. To what degree do you trust that they know what's going on? You know, like Trump puts these tariffs forward, and you're like, dudes, do you have any idea what's going to happen here? How do you think about that? How much do you just trust? Like, okay, they must know what's happening.
Oh, I won't like trust it at like face value. I'll like obviously like research it on my own to like see what it's really about. But like just because they're like someone's in a position of power and they like say something, I don't think that gives them like credibility. Or
You don't
like,
think they necessarily know.
no.
So you're still questioning.